Hello, today we're going to make apple wine using home-grown apples from our garden. The apples that we are using were ripe and ready to be picked in this month of October. Prior to starting, let's see what equipment we need. For the initial fermentation we are using a 2-gallon bin with a sealable lid, a set of scales, measuring spoons and a 2-pint measuring jug. As you will already know, all equipment needs to be sterilised. To make a gallon of apple wine, the ingredients you need are 8 pounds of ripe apples, 2 pounds of sugar, half a pint of grape concentrate, half of which we will use with a general purpose yeast to make a starter. The additives are 1 vitamin B1 tablet, 3 milligrams, a teaspoon of yeast nutrient and a teaspoon of pectic enzyme, pectolase. We will list all these ingredients and additives at the end of this video, so don't worry about having to note everything down just now. We can now start to prepare the fruit. We wash the apples and remove the leaves and stalks. To extract the juice, we can either mince them or slice them and then crush them with a block of wood in a flat bottom bin. When all the apples have been crushed, we pour on 6 pints, not 5, of cold water. If the yeast starter is not ready, then add a crushed Camden tablet. Then leave for 24 hours until the starter is ready. This is to stop fermentation starting from the natural yeast on the apples. And this is the Camden tablet. And the last pint of water. Here we are, 24 hours later, and our yeast starter is now active. We now add the sugar, the remaining grape concentrate and the additives. 2 pounds of sugar. The remaining grape concentrate, quarter of a pint. One vitamin B1 tablet. One teaspoon of pectolase, and 1 teaspoon of yeast nutrient. We now stir this well to make sure that all the sugar is dissolved. We can now add the yeast starter. Stirring again to make sure that it is all mixed. The contents of the bin are now referred to as the must, which should be left covered for 4 days once it's started to ferment, stirring daily using a clean wooden spoon. Hello again. Here we are 4 days later. Now the must in the bin should now be strained from the pulp and the fermentation process continued. For this we need a sterilised gallon jar, a funnel, a straining bag and an airlock to put in the neck of the jar once it's full. Using the jug, we pour the contents of the bin through the straining bag and the funnel into the gallon jar, which I shall now proceed to do. Now that all the liquid has been transferred to the jar, we would top up with cold water if we needed to, and we would top it up to the level that the wine is now sitting on the neck. The gallon jar is now placed back into the warm area once I've fitted this airlock and left to ferment to dryness or a specific gravity of 1000 or less. How long it will continue to ferment before that gravity is reached, of course we don't know at this stage. Hello again. Here we are, a week later, since we strained this apple wine from the bin into this gallon jar. Now we get to the stage where if no gas is being produced and we think that the wine has finished fermenting, it should be checked before the next step. To check the wine we need a hydrometer and a clear trial jar. We now siphon some of the wine from the gallon jar into the trial jar and take a reading with the hydrometer. To take a reading, I've lowered the hydrometer into the trial jar, spun it gently. If the reading shows a specific gravity of 1000 or less, then the fermentation is probably complete, and 1 crushed Camden tablet or a 1/4 teaspoon of Camden powder should be added. The reading is 992. So to all intents and purposes, at a reading of 992, the fermentation is as good as finished, and Camden powder should be added to the jar. One level 1/4 teaspoon is equivalent to 1 Camden tablet. So I'll add that now. And put the trial wine back in the jar. "24 hours later, we will rack that wine into a clean jar and then leave that until it is totally clear and ready for bottling." Here we are 24 hours later, and as you can see, the wine is already starting to clear. We must now rack or siphon this wine into another clean jar using a plastic tube with a siphon tube attachment, which is this item here. This draws the wine from above downwards into the tube, rather than with that not being there, which it then would suck up stuff from the bottom. So let's get started.